Hello and welcome to the Nightmare Vault, and today we'll be looking at one that I was not expecting to do anytime soon, but we needed something a little bit short just to make up for a bit of a shortfall that will be happening in a couple weeks' time.
Yeah, with public holidays coming up, we had to, I guess, have a slight change of plans. And
Oh yeah, because I love having my public holidays off.
Yeah.
Although who doesn't?
Very true. It's definitely a big part of Australian culture, I think, is public holidays.
Oh yeah, especially with Anzac Day being like around the corner.
Yeah, not too far off.
Well, I guess I can say rip to my wallet. Because probably have too many drinks and probably lose too many games of 2 Up.
Yes.
Although I guess we should get on with today's episode, which is Mr. Mix, which...
Another oldie.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Although I think that's as to be expected for me, considering...
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's the most recent I covered. The closest to the most recent I covered would be the episode on Jeff the Killer, but you narrated the reboot.
Yes.
I narrated the original.
Yeah, that is true. So this, again, is another one I haven't read. I have no context of what the story is about. So I'm pretty interested and I guess intrigued by the title, Mr. Mix. Yeah, that could go quite many ways, I guess, when it comes to CreepyPasta.
Oh, yeah. Although, again, you're going to be in a bit for a surprise. Like, this one probably is a bit different from the other ones I covered. But I guess this comes from the early era where...
Yeah.
Kind of, I guess it wasn't as mainstream, but kind of people were just doing their own thing.
Yeah, there's not necessarily a formula yet. Or at least a...
Either that or just people were a bit more experimental back then.
Yeah, I guess the idea of a creepypasta wasn't quite set. So, yeah, much more experimentation at this time, which is interesting to see. I like.
Although, I bet you there's people that are like, get on with it. So I think we should. So,
yeah,
I guess. Take it away, me. Does anyone remember an old PC game from the early 1990s called Mr. Mix? It was mainly a typing game, similar to Mario Teaches Typing, where you have to put words into a box to make a chef, the titular Mr. Mix, place ingredients into a bowl. Unlike most typing games, however, the game was notorious for having an insane difficulty curve. It had a word per minute requirement for each level, being as low as 10 on level 1 and as high as 85 on the third. By level 5, the requirement reaches over 500, effectively making it impossible to proceed any further. One of the main things that people immediately noticed about the game was the background music. On the first level, it was an unsettling pattern of growls that got progressively louder as the level went on, often causing damage to early computer speakers that were not designed to handle extremely high volumes. The second level had no music at all, and the third had what sounded like a very low-quality recording of a hairdryer playing in the background. The remaining 2 levels had an incredibly loud, high-pitched ringing throughout that caused severe eardrum damage to those who managed to get that far. Another rather disturbing aspect of the game was the design of Mr. Mix himself. He was a large, round-faced, overweight man with beady eyes and red spots on his cheeks. Most children who played the game reported having vivid nightmares of Mr. Mix, speaking to them in a quiet, raspy voice, and threatening them to keep quiet about something. However, none of them could remember exactly what that was. One psychologist who saw many of these children reported being disturbed by the sheer amount of terror on their faces as they recounted details of the nightmare. Many of them broke down into tears in the process, begging for their parents to save them. However, no direct relationship to the game itself could be determined by these few cases, as not all children suffered the same adverse effects. For obvious reasons, the game did not sell very well. It remained in relative obscurity until a few years ago when PC hackers got a hold of a ROM of it and started digging through it. Using memory hacking software, they managed to crack the game's code and bypass the impossible 5th level. What they found, however, was highly disturbing and caused many of them to quit the expedition altogether. According to the reports these hackers left behind, the game behaves very strangely if the 5th level is bypassed. The game crashes violently and closes, writing a bunch of files to the user's System32 directory to the point that the RAM is almost completely filled. These files are reportedly pictures of people with horribly deformed faces appearing to scream in pain and agony, their eyes bleeding from their tear ducts, and their outer layer of skin torn clean off in multiple places. If the user attempts to delete these files, their computer will violently crash and blue screen, causing permanent, irreparable damage to the hard drive. The hackers found that this was caused by a lone byte in the game's ROM that triggered when the 5th level was completed. After removing this byte, they were able to proceed to the 6th and final level. Unfortunately, all the original hackers declined to discuss what they saw in the final level. Each of them became extremely paranoid and reclusive afterwards, refusing to talk about anything related to the game and showing astonishingly extreme symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder. Most of them ceased to be able to form coherent sentences within a week. Within a month, all of them had gone missing. All remaining copies of the game were destroyed. To this day, no one knows what was in it that caused the group so much psychological damage. Maybe it's better that way. 2 years after this incident, a man was arrested for trying to kidnap an 8-year-old girl from a grocery store. Through DNA and fingerprint analysis, he was identified as one of the original hackers who had viewed the final level of the game. He was wearing a white chef's hat and had a look of unspeakable malice and insanity on his face. When interrogated, the man would only say one thing: "I'm Mr. Mix." Shh.
Cool.
And there we go. You can see why I like this one.
Yeah, this has a lot going for it and a lot of similarities with some of the other shorter ones that we've gone through previously, sort of like with Dead Bart and what was the other one?
Lavender Town, wouldn't it?
Yeah, Lavender Town and Squidward Suicide. I think those three, they kind of share
A similar vibe.
Yeah, where this one, I like it because it gives you a bit more of a ending that feels like intentional. I feel some of the other ones, they kind of like got to a point where they knew they should end the story.
And it's like the end.
Yeah, and it sort of feels a bit rushed. Whereas this one, it feels like the ending was already in mind.
Oh, yeah,
And
definitely.
it gets there quite well.
Back, I do get that vibe. Sorry for kind of cutting in there.
Yeah. So that's maybe the best thing that this one shows so far compared to the other ones sort of in the game at the time or around that same time, early 2010s.
And even then, I think this, like, I think I'm a little biased here, but I do kind of consider this to be like the golden age.
I think as well, for the time, and I guess again comparatively, you know, the language and everything that's used is quite good, and it still has that same sort of like format of like urban legend, but yeah, just done, I would say much more cleanly compared to the other ones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as I'm not sure if I've said it in past videos, but again, this time period is kind of the Wild West. You kind of get a mix.
Yes.
I guess roll credits.
Yeah, yeah, you definitely do. I guess you get a mix of like really good ideas, poorly executed, and then something like this, which is a good idea executed well. I guess I can see how it maybe isn't necessarily a standout because of that, though, because it doesn't quite get as maybe shocking as something like Dead Bart definitely does closer to the end. where it definitely gets much more gruesome. Where this one, I guess it does. It tells us that things were highly disturbing, and that the hackers, they had difficulty with PTSD and stuff afterwards. But yeah, it doesn't give us the most detailed picture. So it sort of like misses that, I guess, disturbing or scary factor a little bit.
I think actually I like kind of how it doesn't really tell. Leaves a lot up to the imagination, which is kind of why I kind of like it so much.
I don't know. I'm not sure if, I prefer that or like the more intense sort of scenes that, we got in Dead Bard or Squidward Suicide. Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I still like this one, but I guess it is just a different flavor. It's like the same thing overall, but just a slightly different approach.
Although, actually kind of talking about those ones you did bring up, I really like Lavender Town Syndrome. Like, I think I did ass blast it a bit in this video, but I still love it.
Yeah,
like,
that was a good one as well.
It's something that's easily disproven, but that's not really the point of the creepypasta. It's kind of to be kind of a spooky story, and I just like the idea that it sets up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess...
And, well, this does, to bring it back to this does quite a similar thing.
It definitely does, but I guess to your point, you can't disprove it because I guess, the question is it a real game or not? Whereas obviously with Lavender Town, it's a real level within a real game.
Well, area, because, Pokemon doesn't really have levels, so to speak. Not in the traditional sense.
No, but...
Okay, I love it when I get intrusive thoughts in my head. I was like, imagine a Pokemon Souls-like game.
That would be quite interesting. They kind of have done it in like the Legends game, and there's going to be another Legends game, but not to that extent of like how hard it is.
Oh yeah,
the Souls games are.
God,
that's an interesting point.
Oh God, I'm just imagining like hearing boss music as a Pidgeotto appears.
Yes.
Oh God, that is just so funny.
Yeah.
Or even like a Rattata.
Just
showing up and you just hear boss music.
That would be pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, Rattata uses ankle bite. It was super effective.
Yes.
You have died.
That would be pretty cool, actually. I don't think I really have much more to say on this one, to be honest.
Same here. It's like, again, there's not really much to talk about it other than it's, pretty good.
Yeah.
For how short and simplistic it is.
Yeah.
Which I guess we should move over to how we would rate it for me. Oh, okay. This is kind of interesting. I think personally, I would give it a 6 as, it's pretty good, but at the same time, it is pretty simplistic, but I think that works. It's kind of a double-edged sword. It does work to its advantage, but also kind of does hurts a bit because there's definitely, as you said, more things they could have fleshed out a bit more. But then I kind of also like that it leaves a bit more up to the imagination. So it does, I guess this makes me a bit of a hypocrite. Although it's always good to have a little bit of hypocrite in you.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Although as a creepypasta, this is tough. I want to give it a higher rating, but at the same time, it's definitely getting a 5. I can say that much. As well, if you compare it to others, it does fall a bit short.
Yeah.
Although it does what it does pretty well, so I just couldn't give it any lower, but can't really give it any higher.
Yeah, that's fair. I can definitely see where you're coming from. As for me, as just personally as a story, I think it works quite well as a Reddit story, a forum sort of story. But I guess to put it in...
Well, that's probably where it originated from.
Yeah, but I guess to put it in...
I think the case with most of the older ones, they kind of came from places like 4chan or Reddit.
But to put it in context of, I guess, like a traditional story, I'd probably go about a 4 or a 5. Let's go 4.5. And then as for a creepypasta, I'd probably go a 5 as well. Yeah, it does well to keep you interested, but yeah, it just doesn't quite get to what creepypasta, I guess, has kind of become, or at least is known for, that sort of overt, spooky or gruesome sort of factor. To your point, it leaves it open in a nice way, but that is also its downfall, I think, as well. It's kind of, I guess, the Stephen King thing. It's like Stephen King can give you this whole thing, but he also needs to know what it actually is. Like, what is the evil thing? Whereas, this I don't quite think gets there, or at least it doesn't tell us what the evil thing is.
Which just leads to an interesting question. Is the man possessed at the end, or has he simply just kind of lost it in the brain case?
Yeah. Cool.
Which I guess comment down below to see, to what you think happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
At the end there.
Yeah, let us know your theories and thoughts of this one, Mr. Mix.
Although I'm leaning towards that, he just his mind has just basically lost his mind.
Yeah, I think from the limited information that we get given, the disturbing things that are seen by the hackers, I think so. I think it's, sort of just like, I guess in most PTSD cases, it is, just sort of like the trauma that they suffered, has taken them so far that they're no longer really a sane person in the medical sense. So that's probably what it was, I'd say. But there could be plenty of other theories that could be right as well. All right.
Well, I guess that brings us to the end of this episode, which I guess leave a like if you liked, and if you really liked it, give us subscribe.
Yeah.
God, I'm just out of it today. Although as to what I'll probably be covering next, bited my head. Actually, I kind of don't fucking know what I'm going to cover next.
I think 1999 would be a good one for you to cover next. That one seems pretty interesting.
Kind of been past last video I did, I was like, I'm probably going to cover this.
Yeah.
Although I'm kind of keen to cover The Day I Hired a Hitman on Myself, although that one's probably going to be a bit of a long one.
Yeah.
Considering, there's actually more to it than 4 parts. Because what I was thinking as like part 1 and part 2 were kind of like 2 different stories that are connected. Well, I guess it's the second story, this continuation of the first. And that's what I was thinking, there's like 4 parts, because I think there was that a second story. And I think there's like another 2 stories, but I think they've been lost. But again, I'm not 100% sure at this point.
Yeah, that also sounds like an interesting one. But I guess maybe more research required until we really...
Although I'm definitely going to do the first part. No, not first part, I guess the first story, which is like in all of its 7 parts, which...
Oh, okay.
It's going to be interesting because, not only is it going to be probably the longest we would have done at this point, it's probably going to be the longest one we've done for a while until we cover something like another one I've been talking about, the showers. Although there's a lot of long ones that I've been talking about, like the search and rescue one, which, oh boy, that's going to be fun because... It's basically a collection of several different stories, and there's even kind of a bit of a sort of story going on in the background of it. So I think there'll be a lot for you to kind of go through.
Okay.
We may even do a tier list to kind of rank each update.
Yeah.
It's kind of sequenced as a series of updates.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That could be cool.
Especially considering like you're probably looking at 15 to 30 minutes each update about.
Right.
If I had to go off memory, which has already been proven with how unreliable it is with the whole the day I hired a hitman on myself. So
yeah,
I'm probably going to release that as probably one big video, although I may just break it up because that means at least I know what I'm recording.
Yeah, there's that as well. There's some options there, I guess.
I'll break it up so that means I'm free to do other things while we just do one massive recording and just break it up by update.
True.
Although it's going to be a several day long recording, I just can feel it.
I guess if there's any recommendations as well, they're definitely well received. So let us know if there's any stories you'd like us to cover. leave them suggestions down in the comments.
I was about to say, yeah, because at this rate, I'm probably going to be running out of ones myself to cover.
Yeah.
And I guess I'm going to need the youngins to help me out.
Yeah, true.
Before we go, you got any idea what you're covering next, or?
No. So yeah, that's definitely where recommendations would help. If not, I'll probably have another look on the most popular page, because that
No, yeah, that held was pretty good.
yeah, that was pretty good. That's my backup plan, I guess. All right, we'll catch us in the next one.
Yeah, sayonara.